The call. There's a lot of information. Representative Carter is exactly right on the numbers and figures that he gave with regard to this. Myself and also Representative Manis was in the comptroller's office last Monday, when we met with him and went over these numbers with an official from the city of Memphis and talked about these numbers and what transpired. If you look at the map, in which most of you don't look at the map, it looks like Swiss cheese on a map down there in our area. And let me just say this. In response to those residents in Cordova, in 1998, I represented all those folks in Cordova. They didn't have anyone to speak up for them. And I can tell you now, the homes plummeted in that area during that time frame around Countrywood, Colonial Country Club, all that area through there. You could not even sell your house for what it was worth. People were leaving in droves out there. What they got was taxation without representation, exactly what they got, ladies and gentlemen of the House. It was a tax situation whereby you just heard that they're running a $75 to $90 million deficit a year. That is true. They are running that. And that was told to us by the city officials themselves. I'm not just throwing a number out there. But these folks could not sell their homes, and the area went down. I had an area down on Highway 64 where they strip annexed all the way to the Fayette County line. People were calling me. They couldn't get garbage service. They couldn't get anything. They didn't even have a police tower out there to actually, so the police officers could actually be able to communicate back and forth. They had two-man cars out there. My brother was in one of those two-man cars that rode out there. I talked to some folks this week down there that was annexed way before 1998, right there across from Shelby Farms there in the Agri Center. They've got street lights. They ain't had their streets paved since they've been out there. They got potholes everywhere. So what we've got is folks that have been disenfranchised. And I'm not blaming this administration on that at all. You know, matter of fact, the mayor is a good friend of mine and the CAO is a good friend of mine down there. But it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen, on this. So I'll sit down and hopefully that answers a lot of the questions that some of the members have. I can answer a lot more on this area if they need be. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Bunch.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate Representative Todd's responses. Those is not exactly the questions I would have asked him, but I'll go back to the sponsor and perhaps he'll know. When we're looking at the May 1st, 1998 date, what is is that date intended for the date of annexation or the date that the annexation became effective?
Representative Carter.
That is the date after which the annexation ordinance became operative and effective. All right.
Okay. And this is something, I don't know if there's the legal response that you have for this, but when we're looking at the property rights issue, for those individuals who bought property in these areas, either when they were anticipating annexation or after the annexation had occurred, people who were looking to be in the city of Memphis to take advantage of some of the advantages that the city would bring, whether it's access to libraries or other services that are not supplied by the county. How do these individuals protect their property rights, and how do they ensure that their property values don't decrease from being in the city?
Senator Carter.
Representative Hardaway, I appreciate you bringing that up. It's something I had forgot to mention. Let's assume that we have a referendum and it comes out 51 to withdraw, 49 to stay in. Part 3 of this bill allows for non-contiguous annexation. We have elevated consent into the city.
You're recognized.
I'm sorry, Madam Speaker. Let me explain how that works. Let's assume we have, you got me now? Let's assume that we have a referendum and the vote is 51% to 49%. You're stating what happens to those 49% if they want to stay in the city. Section 3, not the third portion of this bill, non-contiguous annexation, allows those people the day after that referendum occurs to write a letter to the city and ask to re-enter the city by consent. This bill was specifically adapted to allow that, and with non-contiguous annexation, literally both sides get exactly what they want.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the individuals who desire to remain in the city, even if their land is non-contiguous, can petition the city to stay a part of the city. They would never leave the city,
No.
or they would be re-annexed.
Representative Carter.
They would leave the city, but they would be allowed to come back in immediately thereafter. Now, let me say this for our mayors that are among us. That re-annexation or annexation by consent is solely in the purview of the city. If someone requests to come into the city has no obligation to accept them, but may do so by resolution. But they're not required to, but they can. They'll make that economic or whatever decision that the city wants to make on that. But yes, that's exactly right. They will come out, but they can go right back in if the city allows it.
Representative Hardaway.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the patience of the sponsor. I'm not an attorney, so I'm kind of picking that language that I don't understand and hoping that you can explain it to me in layman's terms, and so far you've done so, and I appreciate that. What I'm still not clear on is egregious, and what it is that defines egregious when you're looking at the cities or the areas that were annexed into the cities. Is it about what the annexation process was, or is it about what their options are now to de-annex? I'm not clear about that.
Representative Carter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.